Well, I am so excited to actually make this video because this is both a exciting problem to have and yet an unfortunate problem to have. And in today's video, we're going to talk about it. If you guys haven't seen the news, New World's player numbers just surged this weekend. Two new numbers that we haven't seen in a while. And this isn't on the back of new content being added. This is on the promise of a future for this game. Now, hello everyone and welcome to this channel. My name's Brian if you're new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, you sexy beast, you. And that's what you get for subscribing, by the way. Free compliments at the start of these videos. Now, this video is a discussion. It's a green post if you're brand new. I color code my my thumbnail so that ideally you understand what the video is. Green's kind of opinion discussion. Blue is a guide. Yellow is news. And then I have a couple of variations like orange are for like dev updates direct from the developers, etc. If you guys go take a look at the go take a look at the channel homepage, you'll see the various playlists and you can kind of get an idea of how I kind of think about coloring the thumbnail. So hopefully that ends up being a help. If you're not interested in this kind of video, no judgment. Thanks. Hopefully you come back for news posts and stuff like that. But beyond that, over on Ginger Prime today, I actually posted a video focusing in on that. This is exactly what was always going to happen, and here's what's going to happen next. This was building off of my why everyone was wrong about New World, and especially their analysis of this MMO. If you're curious about that, that's all going to be linked in the cards. I hope you go and check those out. Those are, I think, really important videos for the overall MMORPG discussion. But I want to focus this one on New World because we have a server problem and a capacity problem. And I want to talk to you about my specific hopes of what I hope we see and kind of a roadmap, in that regards. This isn't, inside information. This is just my ginger opinion in this regard. So welcome to the video itself. I look forward to actually kind of hearing your thoughts and what you hope to see, because obviously I have one kind of, view, my own. But I always am generally curious to see where what they want to see. And that kind of falls into a couple of different categories. I see an ever increasing demand for fresh start servers in which that you can only make a new character on, and it adds a new land rush. I think that's one thing in one piece of content, and even honestly, a piece of content that could be a yearly thing for players who really want that brand new experience and kind of celebrating the, anniversary of the game. Ultimately, though, whether it's a fresh start server or a server that you can transfer onto, I think there's two real critical key technologies that need to happen with the game itself. The first one ends up being cross-server play. Now, the devs have already commented that that's on its way. We just do not know when. And the reason why cross-server play is going to be ending up being important, and not that it has to all be, fully encompassing right at the start, but if we just focusing on instance content like OPR, PvP Arena, and the expeditions, ultimately that would make it to where if you wanted to play on a small server, which some people do, then you can, and you're not going to have content that you won't be able to participate in. I think those that would actually benefit itself out, because even if they do spin up brand new servers that people can transfer onto as a part of this new rush, as a part of the continually increasing player count for the game, well, what the risk is that eventually, outside the hype and outside whatever this ends up being, when things kind of shrink down, that you end up having people isolated or stuck on those servers. So people would be hesitant to transfer. But even if it isn't on day one, if they say yeah, we're going to add some new servers, and by the way, cross server play is coming in 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever, that time frame is, that does help alleviate some of that concern, so that players would know, hey, yeah, it's safe to go play here. Cross server is on the way, and by the time you might start to see that scale down, you're not going to be isolated off into your own little server world, cut off from the general population, because the MMO communities and populations ebb and flow. That's just something that the numbers and the data and being a fan of the genre for so long will show you. But that being said, the other technology I'd love to see is the server capacity increase. Now, we've seen several things like Wars move over into its own instance, and I think that's actually setting the foundations for this. It's also setting more foundations for cross-server stuff if they do decide to kind of rework and redo kind of how Wars and territory control works in the long run, but I'm not going to speculate too much into this video on that. But when we see the wars moving themselves off, when we see that the expeditions are instance, when we see PvP, OPR, all that stuff, when all that stuff comes into play, Like, I do think we could start to see, obviously, the server capacity increase with Brimstone Sands. Personally speaking, I'd love it to be 3,000. Like, right now, last night I had a 40-minute queue to get into the game. Just moving it upwards won't necessarily solve the full problem, but it will allow more people to play on the same server together. You couple that with cross-server play, and then all of a sudden you start actually having this world where, does it, like, that's a bigger conversation for a bigger day. I know there's a lot of people who love server culture, like this is the server and this is the culture on the server, but I do agree that in terms of the ease of play and the volume of the genre itself, drop in, drop out multiplayer, the ability to play with each other is, I think, more important than essentially server culture. You're welcome to disagree. I'm not saying that I'm right, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that this is just how I see it. And I think Guild Wars 2 has the best example of that, where you can play in the open world, you can play in the content. It literally doesn't matter outside of a few key factors. And maybe you still bring those key factors into it. Those things coupled together is that ultimately, I said this at the launch of the game, and I'm going to say it here again now. I really wish there was a guest system for your character so that when you were in queue, you could literally go play the game. If they just had like these guest servers so that while you're in queue, you're able to play. And then when your queue is ready, that it would just transfer you onto your server. That is way more fun than waiting in queue. Now, it's important that the queues work, and they do, except for the fact that the display number is broke. Now, you can sit there and you'll get in. Like, the queue system is working, the display of the number is wrong. They have to get that fixed. Because even if people are coming back and they want to play, even if the new experience is like so good and people are just having so much fun, like a queue time will take a lot of the wind out of players' sails. And the only real way to solve that is with volume. Now, I hope that we see that server capacity increase, around the update. The concern ends up being is that you end up trying to do too much and the update's not stable, because adding in more people to the game itself, if you're only crashing the servers, that's also a bad look. So I don't know if we're going to see that hand in hand, but I do wonder if we'll see fresh start servers. And we do need, in my opinion, we do need new servers. They need to be able to spin up some new servers now so they can get more people into the game and less people waiting in queue. And that also, it would be a good story, right? Like in terms of news, like, hey, New World's growing and now they're having to add new servers. But my concern is maybe the constant flexing and the contracting of the servers. But maybe I'm also looking into it too much, because this is Amazon and they have AWS and it is built for the cloud, which cloud scaling is one of the core strengths of why you would build a game on the cloud, in that kind of infrastructure, to be able to scale out and scale up and scale down and scale in. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out in the long run. So anyway, those are just some thoughts that I have. I do think we're going to see server capacity increase. I do think we're going to see new servers, and I do think we actually might see fresh start servers. I don't think we're going to see a huge ton of fresh start servers, because I think it's more important getting people in, and not everybody's going to want to start a brand new character. But I could see fresh start servers coming in line with obviously the new player experience, and as maybe a test to see, like, hey, we created a fresh start server to see how much real interest in it there is. Because, not discounting gamers, but, sometimes gamers talk a big game, but then their actions don't reflect it. And this isn't a judgment on it. I'm guilty of this. I'm just trying to be honest with myself about, what it is that I'm specifically looking for. And sometimes what I say that I want versus what I actually am willing to participate in are two completely different things. But that's just me. Anyway, guys, I'm not trying to ramble. I'd love to know your thoughts. I'm really so thrilled by the numbers that increased this weekend. It was shocking in the degree of the volume. I was thinking that it would just kind of continue to maintain until we actually got like a big announcement. But just off of Brimstone Sands alone, I think you're seeing content creators return. You're going to see the mood in the conversation change a little bit, at least for now. And ultimately, I think this is all a good thing. Whether if somebody was just hating on the game and they're excited for it now, I don't care. Like, just be excited for the cool things and be honest about the things that still need work. And I'm going to wrap up, guys. Thanks so much for being here. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Also, if you're still watching, you can check out a couple YouTube videos over here and over there. YouTube things that might be a good choice for you. If you guys haven't seen, we have the Epic Loot Radio podcast. You can listen to it wherever podcasts are found. Just search Epic Loot Radio or use the links in the description of this video to check it out as well. I hope you enjoy it. I'd love to hear your feedback on the podcast if you are listening to the MP3, or you can always join us live on Wednesdays over on Ginger Prime, where we record the podcast with various different creators talking about a wide range of things, especially as it relates to gaming, MMOs, and so much more. Thanks, guys, for listening. Thanks for being here. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully I'll see you next time. But until then, take care.